All right, so what I have here is a little robot that can travel around and look at things and receive input from people. So my components are two actuators here that power these treads motors. I have an actuator in the form of a servo here that rotates this sonic sensor, which is one of my sensors. I also have an infrared sensor that receives input from this remote control, and then an LCD display screen. So basically what this does is you input a direction on the remote control, forward, backward, left, or right. The machine will respond by first looking to see if there's anything in its way. If it does detect an obstacle in its path, then it will actually not obey your command. If it doesn't, then it will. If it chooses to not obey your command, then it will tell you why on this display screen. This screen will either say that there's an obstacle ahead, or that it will not say that there's an obstacle ahead. If it does detect an obstacle ahead, it will tell you where there is a clear path by checking the other directions as well. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So for example, if I tell it to go forward here, there we go. So the servo looks left, forward, right, backward, right, forward, left, and then back, and then it moves forward for 1 second. So now I'm gonna simulate having an obstacle in front of it so that it can't move. And I'm going to tell it to go forward with my hand in front of it. So it looks both ways, and then it says, obstacle ahead, clear right. So instead of moving forward, it tells you where the obstacle is and if there's a clear path it could take. So here's a close-up of the LCD screen with an obstacle in front of the robot. I sees an obstacle ahead, but it sees a clear path to the right and then resumes awaiting input. So it told us there was a clear path to the right, so I'll tell it to go right instead. So awaiting input, I tell it go right, and it rotates this wheel forward, this wheel in reverse, which would turn it to the right. The motors actually aren't powerful enough, they don't provide enough torque that it can move on the ground, which is why I'm holding it in the air. But you can see that those motors actually do function. This motor does function. The sensor can detect obstacles. This sensor does receive input from the remote control. This LCD display does display different things depending on what occurs within. So that's my little robot.